Everyone wants to be seen as trustworthy, right? That's what we want. Not being trusted is bad. I mean, if a friend of yours came up to you and said, "Oi, Dave," bear with me if your name isn't Dave, we've all been chatting and we think that you are totally untrustworthy. That'd be a bad thing. Even worse for you if your name is in fact Dave. More financially pressing is the fact that it's just common sense that trust is going to be really important if you want to make money. If people don't trust you, it's going to be really hard to get them to part with their hard-earned cash. But lots of things that seem common sense to start with turn out to be not quite right. It's common sense enough to think that the world is flat, but it's not. It's common sense to think that putting ice on a burn will help it to heal more quickly, but it'll actually slow the process. Important to say though that I'm not actually a doctor, but not a medical doctor. It's common sense to think you can only get sunburn when the sun's out, but you only have to look at the fact that there are people in the UK with suntans to realise that that can't be quite right. So, what about trust? Does it really matter? And if so, how much does it matter? In particular, if you're in business, how much difference can trust make to your bottom line? Happily, there's quite a lot of research that's been done in academia that has been done to show us the impact that trust can have on the way that we live our lives, including the financial difference. And that is exactly the kind of thing that we look at here on Trust Me, I'm a Philosopher, where we delve into the study of trust, what it is, why it matters, how we gain it, and sometimes how much money that might be able to make you. Hello, I'm Jonathan and I'm a philosopher in the UK working on trust. And I know that I can trust all of you to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Where to start? Well, Annette Baier wrote a great paper on the philosophy of trust that makes one point really, really clearly. Here's the quote. "We do in fact, wisely or stupidly, virtuously or viciously, show trust in a great variety of forms and manifest a great variety of versions of trustworthiness, both with intimates and with strangers. We trust those we encounter in lonely library stacks to be searching for books, not victims. We sometimes let ourselves fall asleep on trains or planes, trusting neighbouring strangers not to take advantage of our defencelessness. We put our bodily safety into the hands of pilots, drivers and doctors with scarcely any sense of recklessness." Now, Baier here is bang on the money. If we didn't trust other people, then most of the things that we do, often without even thinking about it, simply couldn't happen. I couldn't walk down the street if I didn't trust others not to harm me. I couldn't upload a YouTube video if I didn't trust people in the comments section to be kind. I couldn't do really anything that exposed me to some kind of risk unless I trusted the people that I occupy the space with. So Baier's right. To which we might say, fine, great, brilliant, Jonathan. Trust matters some. That much is clear. But this is really just us back where we started. We know all of this matters. Trust, sure. But how much does it matter? Can we quantify it? Is this just going to turn out to be one of those lazy parables where we learn that we care about trust, but actually it's one of the things that we can jettison if the going gets tough? Well, the exact cost of losing trust is going to depend. In some interactions, perhaps trusting someone to save you the last biscuit from a packet, a breach of that trust might be quite low, and that might be quite an important thing for my marriage. But in other contexts, a loss of trust can be hugely significant and extremely costly. It can be really bad when we lose trust and great when we gain it. So, how great? What are the numbers? In the Harvard Business Review, Tony Simons reports some really nice research carried out with Judy McLean Parks. To measure the expected chain reaction in a competitive service market, they conducted a survey involving over 6,500 employees across 76 Holiday Inn hotels in the US and in Canada. They asked workers to rank their manager's behavioural integrity on a 5-point scale. The prompts that they used were things like, "My manager delivers on promises," and "My manager practices what he preaches." All of the things that we might just naturally take to help us measure trust when we start to think about it. Additionally, they also assessed employee commitment with prompts like, "I'm proud to tell others I'm part of this hotel," and "My co-workers go out of their way to accommodate special requests." all sorts of things like that. And finally, they correlated the survey responses with the hotel's customer satisfaction surveys, personal records, and financial records. Now, what they found was really cool. I mean, I do a bunch of work in trust and I wasn't expecting the impacts to be this significant. Okay, so the unsurprising part. Hotels where employees strongly believe their managers followed through on promises and walked the talk with the values that they were supposed to were substantially more profitable than those whose managers scored average or lower. More trust, more profit. And I guess that's probably what we were expecting to see. That might just be one of those cases where we think that the research shows what we knew all along. Fine, but bear with me. What's surprising is the depth and the size of the effect. And simply, I think it was pretty huge. Specifically, they found that a 1/8 point improvement on that 5-point scale could increase a hotel's profitability by 2.5% of revenues, which in this study equates to over $250,000 per year per hotel. So to increase the annual revenue at a hotel by $250,000, management could just improve trust by 0.125 on this scale. That's a super small increase for a huge return. That's assuming that they hold everything else equal. If they instructed staff to stop making the beds in the hotel or started day drinking while scoffing biscuits, then that might not have worked out so well. But the basic gist is pretty clear. So let's try and contextualize it. If you have 8 employees, all of whom think that you're bang average when it comes to trust, a 3 out of 5. And if you can get one of them to think better of you so that they now think you're a 4 out of 5 on the trust scale, if that result holds, that's worth a 2.5% increase in revenue. So scale it up. If you've got 160 employees, all of whom think that management are bang average when it comes to trust, 3 out of 5, and 20 of them, just 20 out of 160, can be moved to a 4 out of 5 on that trust scale, well, 2.5% revenue increased. So if you're a manager and you want to make money in your business, it really helps if your employees trust you. Fundamentally, it can really impact on your bottom line. Similarly, of course, a lack of trust can really hold back a product or a business. Now, I could point you to all sorts of cases and examples here, but one is really nice and really topical. There's been a lot of research into public trust and the uptake of driverless cars. As was reported in a lovely paper by Kaur and Rampersad, a lack of public trust seems to be one of the key things that's holding back the widespread uptake of driverless cars. So look, that funny little thing that we call trust looks like it's the thing that's standing between us and the uptake of a novel, multi-billion-dollar industry, possibly with huge improvements to public and driver safety. That's massive! Love them or hate them, the driverless car market has the potential to be enormous. And it doesn't seem to be that what's really holding it back is just technical wizardry. What's holding it back is on the human side of the equation, and it's our trust in the technology. All of that said, it seems totally clear that trust really matters, and in lots of really easily quantifiable ways. Whether that's in the service business or the development of automotive technology, or even, if that's what floats your boat, in romantic relationships, as this paper points to. And that means that trust matters to you in what you're doing. So, whatever it is that you're doing, you need to be focusing on trust. Whether what you want to do is run a company, launch a product, or just develop closer relationships with the people that you love, this isn't a case of the world not being flat. Things really are as you thought. Yes, trust really does matter, and it matters in a lot of really readily measurable ways. I hope you've enjoyed that little foray into some of the academic research into trust. If you have, give the channel a like and subscribe, and be sure to check out the links below for all of the papers discussed in this video, as well as links to some of the things that I've written about the philosophy of trust. Until next time, stay suitably trusting.